Cal Pads is on suspense, and I waive presentation.
Thank you. And you noticed the courtesy with which you were treated, sir.
Thank you.
Senator Hancock.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm presenting SB 695. And SB 695 is intended not to cost the state money, but to bring additional federal money into counties who choose to participate in the program because there will be a federal match.
Move the bill.
I'm sorry, this bill is a suspense item. I'm sorry. I should have announced that. Continue, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I really wish that it weren't because, as I said, I think it will bring federal money into the state of California.
See you do have some support.
I do have some support. And I will point out, because I know there are some issues raised by finance, that 3 states are already doing this: New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. The bill had bipartisan support in the Assembly Health Committee. It had 40-0 vote in the state Senate, and I would hope for bipartisan support again. It will essentially allow counties that choose to participate to get a match of federal Medicaid funds for the funds they expend on their current responsibilities to take youth incarcerated in juvenile halls awaiting adjudication and giving them mental health, and dental care that they may need. These are great needs. It's expensive for the counties to pay 100% of the costs as they do now, and we can probably get substantial federal participation, up to 50% of the costs. I would ask for your aye vote, and I have with me to testify is Casey Kaneko with Alameda County and others.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Casey Kaneko of Souter and Associates on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, which is a supporter of the bill, and the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, which is sponsoring this bill to bring federal funds into California at absolutely no cost to the state. The counties that wish to participate in this measure are willing to pick up all of the state's administrative costs as well as the cost of benefits in order to bring federal funds into the state to provide better care for our juveniles in detention. With that, I'll turn it over to the other witnesses and be available for questions if there are any. Thank you.
Tim Urian, representing the Los Angeles Deputy Probation Officers Union and the Riverside Sheriff's Association. We think this will stretch our scarce resources and urge an aye vote.
Thank you.
Julian DeVorce. Sorry about that. Julian DeVorce with the Urban Counties Caucus, also in strong support for the previous reasons stated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, Santa Clara County, in support.
Curtis Hill on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association, Chief Probation Officers of California, and the California Probation, Parole, and Corrections Association, in support.
Thank you. Any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, DOF.
Madam Chair, members, the Department of Health Care Services indicates that it would require one position and about $100,000 to seek the federal approvals and to operate the program. And to the extent that the federal government, should it at any point disallow the costs related to this population, such as through an audit, the state would be required to reimburse the federal government because of the way that our programs are run by the county, but the state is liable for that. So to the extent that the general fund would be on the hook for any reimbursement costs, the general fund is at risk, and the Department of Finance is opposed to this measure.
Thank you. Would you like to close?
I would be happy to work with the chair, the committee consultant, and the Department of Finance on this, because we believe the bill states very clearly that counties will pick up all the administrative costs associated with the program, which would include any audit findings or whatever. And if we need to clarify the language, we can do that. But we can't, as a state, complain that we don't get our share of federal dollars if we don't take the initiative to get our share of federal dollars and meet some of our human needs.
Thank you very much, Senator. It is-
And I look forward to
Okay,
working with
thank
you
you.
on suspense.
Senator Liu? I believe?
Yes. He's our last time.
Yes. Come on down. You're it. You're closing today. Our closing act.
Thank you. Let me start?
Yes, please.
Hi.
Thank you.
Let me first start by waiving presentation on item, or actually, it's SB 336. And I will present on SB 702 right now on microchipping, if that's okay.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This bill will help save significant money for local government pet shelters and nonprofit animal shelters. Every year in California, we impound over 1 million dogs and cats, and more than half have to be euthanized because they could not be reunited with their owners. This process costs nearly $300 million a year. This bill basically will help mitigate that problem by requiring folks who adopt pets from animal shelters to microchip their pets, and also for anyone who loses their pet and it's found at a shelter and they have to get reunited, that they would also microchip that animal as well. I have witnesses here in support, and respect request, and I vote.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Mancuso with Social Compassion and Legislation. Currently, we're only returning 11 to 13% of the 1 million animals coming into the shelters to their owners, and the reason is lack of identification. And with a microchip, they have a 74% chance of getting back home. So as Senator Liu stated, this will have a happy ending to get animals back home and save the taxpayers money. So please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support?
Hi, Jennifer Fearing on behalf of the Humane Society of the United States in support.
Hi, Lisa Carter with the Santa Cruz SPCA and Humane Society in support.
Thank you. We've had a motion and a second. DOF, or witnesses in opposition? None. DOF?
Madam Chair, this bill, under certain circumstances, could result in a reimbursable state mandate of unknown general fund costs, and also could increase the animal adoption mandate costs beginning in 2012-13 if the suspension of that particular mandate is not extended.
Thank you. I would just like to comment that I generally support the concept, but I am concerned about the fines being increased and people just not showing up because they have to pay more to get their pet out. I'm also concerned with what DOF said. I think it's a great idea. I'm just not sure how you implement it at this time. So I respectfully will not vote on this, but I do respect the intent, and I do think that there might be a way of finding out, since we're saving money by returning pets, maybe we don't have to fine, because if we're in fact saving money, as the bill so states that we would be, by returning pets instead of having to care for them, that this might be something we could work on that would make it a no cost, to encourage people to really come in and pick their pets up.
Thank you.
Altered with a tag. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. I believe that's a Republican roll call.
Harkey? Donnelly?
No.
Donnelly, no. Nielsen?
No.
Nielsen, no. Norby?
No.
Norby, no. Wagner?
That bill's out. Thank you.
Thank you.
888.
Thank you. This bill places reasonable restrictions on the protesting of funerals. It's one of the most sacred events. Thank you. It is supported by veterans organizations, law enforcement, and I have witnesses here in support. Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Pete Conity representing the sponsors of the bill, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the AMVETS, and the American Legion, as well as the supporters, the California Association of County Veterans Service Officers, Student Veterans of California, and the California Department of the Military Officers Association of America. The author is being extremely modest. There are 40 states that have also done similar bills. This bill is narrowly tailored. It is based upon the Supreme Court decision which dealt with Snyder versus Phelps, and the author has worked with everyone and carefully crafted this bill. As I mentioned, is narrowly drawn and is supported by the 2.1 million veterans in the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses?
Yes, Tim Yarin with the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, the Riverside Sheriffs Association, Los Angeles Deputy Probation Officers, all in support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? DOF?
The bill would not result in any additional cost to the state.
Thank you. Your bill's out on the nay roll call.
Thank you.
Did we get a second? We got a motion. Did we get a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded. Thank you. A roll call.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Field off.
Blumenfield off. Bradford off.
Bradford.
Okay.
Thank you.
Still out. And 917?
Thank you. This bill deals with two issues. First, it harmonizes the penalties of animal neglect with animal abuse. And second, it bans the sale of animals at unregulated places such as roadsides and parking lots. And I
Move the bill.
I have witnesses here in support.
Thank you. Any witnesses in support?
Hi again. Yes, I'm Jennifer Fearing on behalf of the Humane Society of the United States, and on behalf of our nearly 1.3 million supporters in California, we're pleased to co-sponsor this bill along with the State Humane Association of California, SPCA LA, and the ASPCA. I just want to thank in advance the members of this committee that supported this bill in its previous conceptions, which was AB 1122 from 2009 and AB 2012 of last year. Assembly members Fuentes, Blumenfield, Davis, Hall, Harkey, Hill, and Solorio, the latter being a co-author of this bill, were good enough to support this bill and help us get it to the governor's desk in the last session. We urge you these issues continue to be pressing. Animals and consumers are suffering from these unregulated activities, and we strongly urge your aye vote.
Witnesses? Any more witnesses?
Hi. Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Lisa Carter, and I am on the State Humane Association of California Board of Directors, Legislative Committee, and also the Executive Director of the Santa Cruz SPCA and Humane Society in Santa Cruz, California. I am here to talk about SB 917, a bill to prohibit roadside and parking lot sales of animals and increase penalties for animal neglect. I am mostly familiar with my 20-plus years experience on the Central Coast that this is a statewide problem with roadside parking lot and other fly-by-night sales of animals coming in over our borders and being sold throughout the state. In 1994, the City of Santa Cruz and the County of Santa Cruz enacted an ordinance on the sale of pets. Since 1994, the Santa Cruz Police Department, as well as the Santa Cruz Sheriff's Department, has lauded this ordinance as helping reduce the valuable time and cost of law enforcement officers and frees them up to do the most important work. Their hours are of supreme value and are finite. Animal control officers of Santa Cruz and other counties that have enacted this ordinance have been able to respond to animal emergencies such as dog fighting, animals hit by cars, animals abuse complaints, dogs in hot cars dying. Animal control officers, police, and sheriff's departments no longer have to respond to dog crate filled with puppies, kittens dying of a myriad of diseases without water and are unable to eat food because they are so ill. This is a great cost savings. Shelters do not have to spend money to care for and to euthanize the same animals, as they many times receive these animals into their care. And the people who bought these animals for large amounts of money cannot afford the $5,000 to $10,000 vet bills, and these animals end up in our shelters at great cost to all of us. It is not legal to sell fruits and vegetables along the roadside of any county. Why should a basket of strawberries have more importance than a pet that will become a loving part of our community? My board of directors president, former longtime chief of police of Oakland, and now the city of Capitola, recently retired, wanted me to let you know how important this bill is and how it has saved so many valuable hours of police officers' time to serve the community. I am asking for your aye vote on this very reasonable bill to address these issues. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next witness.
Karen Lang on behalf of the State Humane Association of California, which is the 140 public and private shelters in California. This is a cost savings, it's a public health benefit, and it's a benefit to the animals. We ask your aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I, Judy Mancuso, Social Compassion and Legislation, and we ask for your support as well.
Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition?
Hi there, Madam Chair and members. Mark Henley with California Outdoor Heritage Alliance. We remain opposed to this bill because there's some legitimate transactions of dogs where the health and safety of those animals would not be impacted or they are carried out in a very responsible manner. We believe this bill will put restrictions on that, which we don't think are warranted. Specifically, we also have nonprofit conservation groups which sell or auction off hunting dogs, sporting dogs at their fundraising events. Occasionally, these are held outside in public places. They have never proven to be detrimental to the dog's health or well-being, and we believe that they should remain legal. So for that, we urge your opposition.
Thank you. Other witnesses in opposition?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Tom Pedersen with the California Rifle and Pistol Association. We have the same concerns. We appreciate the author's efforts and the other groups that are sponsoring the bill, but as it relates to sporting dogs, when we have events, say over at Sportsman's Exposition, we might have a chocolate lab that we decide to auction off, wants to go to a good home, and these are sporting dogs. These are usually paper dogs. They're well cared for, and we don't think that's a problem. We think that there should have been some sort of exception allowed for that. So we're opposed to the bill for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? Excuse me, are you in opposition as well? No. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Ed Wardy with the National Rifle Association. We've been watching the bill, looking at the bill, and we look forward to sitting down with the senator and looking at some of the problems we have with the bill. One of the problems, as we discussed again, is that when you have sportsmen's clubs, you're out hunting and things like that. One of the things that they do to raise money for like junior hunts is they raffle off, or they auction off hunting dogs. So the problem is, I think we're going to sit down and try to work it out with the senator here to get an exemption in there for groups like ourselves and COA and all these other groups who are responsible in what we try to do. So we have an exemption so we can do this kind of activity out in the open, because it's not like you're going to be doing out on the street corner. We're going to be doing it at hunting clubs and NRA shooting clubs and gun clubs and places like that where it's been established. So we'll look forward to sitting down with the author and working through the issues that we've discovered, and we look forward to working with him on the bill. Right now we have to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? DOF?
We don't anticipate any additional state costs, as we don't see it as a reimbursable state mandate.
Mr. Calderon has a question.
Now, Section 2 of the bill, Section 597.4, is added to the Penal Code to read that it is unlawful for any person to willfully do either of the following: display or give away an animal in the places identified in the bill. Maybe you could explain that to me, but in my neighborhood, lots of times when pets have puppies, those puppies might be offered at a market, might be offered on a street corner, and is that person subject to $250 first offense and $1,000 afterwards? And what can you assure me that this language is tight enough to prevent that?
Because it's as part of a commercial transaction, but all of my witnesses testify to that because we've talked about it in previous policy committees as well.
Well, you have sell or give away as part of commercial, display or offer to sell, or display or give away as part of a commercial transaction. Now, what does that mean, commercial transaction? Because to sell is a commercial transaction. I mean, I think that's clear in the bill. To display, I don't know. To give away, I don't know. I don't understand what the commercial transaction is that defined anywhere else in the bill? Maybe I'm not seeing it. But I don't want to make criminals out of people that offer the pets up that are the offspring of puppies that are offspring, or kittens that are offsprings of their pets.
Let me have my witness answer that.
Well, and let me be clear, this is just limiting that activity in public spaces. So to the extent that you have a box of puppies or kittens, you're free to sell those on your own property. The issue here is what's appropriate in a public space, with the public's expectation of their protections in those public spaces. They don't exist. The number one rule that the Humane Society offers to folks who are looking at, wanting to buy or get a new dog and want to have some assurances that it's coming from a reputable breeder or even a neighbor, someone they can trust, is to go on that person's property and see how the parents of those dogs live. And if someone won't let you on their private property, that's a red flag. So what we're saying is, we already we have a tremendous amount of regulation of retail pet store operations. They're under a lot of regulation. In fact, the pet industry is supportive of this bill because we have a lot of protections built into businesses that function to sell animals, both there for animal welfare reasons, human health, and public safety. Those don't exist in these public spaces. The goal of the language you're talking about, we were trying to be explicit in capturing all the scenarios by which people offer and display for sale animals in these public spaces. The commercial transaction would be, we don't want to have a thing where someone's selling something else and a puppy comes along with it, or a turtle that comes along with a cage that's for sale. So that's a commercial transaction involving other things, but an animal's part of it.
I understand what you're getting at, but what if they're offering, they have a bunch of puppies or kittens, they're in a box, and they're on the sidewalk in front of the house, and they're offering them, take a puppy and have a pet. They're giving them away. How do it has to be, certainly it would be in a public street or right away if they were offering it on the sidewalk in front of their house. And now this relates to giving away animals, and puppies would be included. And now the only proviso is as part of a commercial transaction. And, I would feel better if commercial transaction was more clearly specified.
We don't intend to capture the situation you're talking about, so I'm happy to work with you to tighten up the language so it doesn't capture that situation.
I would feel really good about that. I mean, you don't want to turn people trying to find homes for their...
That's not the intent of the bill.
All right.
And also, I'm happy to sit down with the last two opposition witnesses. I just note I got no letters, no phone calls, so it's the first time I'm hearing the opposition from the rifle group, so happy to sit down with them. But just to let you know, I've gotten nothing until this hearing.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Excuse me. Mr. Norby has a question.
We all want to respect all life, and I appreciate your attempt to do that in this. My main concern is, in your words, harmonizing the penalties for neglect and make them the same as abuse, correct?
Yes.
To me, that's a very, very slippery slope, because the law, whether it's elders, whether it's our children, animals, makes it clear that there is a difference between neglect and abuse. This, in my knowledge, and to my mind, would be the first state law which makes them the same. You're doubling the penalty, which is a problem on anything. I don't know if we ought to be doubling penalties. We could say that all crimes are bad, but you're also saying that abuse is the same as neglect. Now, if we expand this philosophy to our kids, last year we made it a misdemeanor and made it a form of child neglect if we didn't make sure our kids went to school, and that you can actually be brought up on misdemeanor charges because it's a form of child neglect. If we make that the same as child abuse, where you can go to prison, this is something I think we all really ought to scratch our heads at and say, no, we don't want to make neglect the same as abuse, whether it's animals, whether it's kids, whether it's elders, whether it's anything, because there is a difference between an act of intentional, malicious commission and an act of neglect. Those are very different. Now, they may have similar effects, and they may cause similar pain. That's true. But whether it's animals or children or others, I don't want to make neglect have the same penalty as abuse. And that's why I couldn't support this, even though there are parts of this that may be salutary. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to speak? We have a motion, we have a second. You're closer.
Let me just try to address the point you raised. Thank you for raising that point. The situation we're trying to capture is, let's say you hit a dog twice, that could be abuse, but you starve the dog for months and it dies of starvation or dehydration. That would be neglect. We're saying, actually it's probably worse for the dog to go through those 3 or 4 months of torture than to get the 1 or 2 times of abuse. That's why we're trying to harmonizing it. Both penalties currently have fines of up to $20,000. Both are wobblers. We're simply making it from 6 months to potentially up to 1 year for neglect, the same as abuse. And we start with your question, bill.
Thank you. Your bill is out on a B roll call.
Thank you.
We have testimony on SB A19 Leno. It's not being presented, but I understand we have witnesses.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Ed Warder with the National Rifle Association. Senate Bill 819 is a very interesting bill because one of the things we've been discovering is that in the process of trying to find the prohibited persons, one thing that came to our attention is that some jurisdictions have decided that even though they've been notified by the Department of Justice that there's somebody who has a mental incapacitation that prohibits them from owning a firearm, that those agencies have decided not to go out and take care of the problem unless they're given money from the state of California, which I find very troubling from that perspective. The other perspective is that the DROS fees, the dealer record of sale fees, are fees that are paid by persons when they go to purchase firearms. To do the background checks, it's a fee that is paid. The thing that we found in looking at Senate Bill 819 is there's a huge amount of fee money that's been socked away by the Department of Justice. Not $500,000, not $700,000, millions of dollars of excess fee money has been socked away by the Department of Justice. Now they have this excess fee money. Now they're trying to figure out ways to spend the money. So what we're seeing is they've charged us excess fees for background checks because the fee is only supposed to recover the cost that it costs them to do the work. But now, apparently $11 million is being taken out of the DROS fees to put in the state budget, and they still have $5 million extra laying around in the DROS fee. Well, if they're collecting all these millions of dollars in excess fees that they're charging us to do the work, why are they collecting excess fees? Why, if you read a letter that we got back from the Department of Justice, we asked them for a simple spreadsheet. We just say, show us a spreadsheet where the money's come from and where the money's going. The Department of Justice responded, they don't have one. I can't imagine any state agency that socked away millions of dollars of fee monies that can't give you a spreadsheet on where the money came from and where the money's being spent. Now, perhaps they have it, but in the last letter they gave to us on June 13th, they said they can't give us a spreadsheet of where the money's going. So the question is how can you say that you can fund this bill when they can't tell you how they're spending the money they already have? Because if you take this money and you use it for this purpose, understand what you're doing. The fee monies that are taken in from the DROS fees are supposed to pay for dealer oversight, for the computer systems for the background checks, to interlink with the federal computer background check system, to send dealers out to send agents out to gun shows to monitor dealers, to go and do compliance inspections with dealers. So when you take money out in a frivolous manner like this for pet projects that you're going to do, what you're going to do is you're going to keep sucking down the DROS account. And what is going to happen, as happens in this building in the last 20 years I've seen, the agency will come back with hat in hand and will go, oh my God, we don't have any money in our DROS account now, and we need to raise the DROS fees again. So if they have millions of dollars that they're siphoning off here and there, that they don't have the authorization to spend right now, and they can't tell you how they're spending it, now they want to take $1 million out of the account that's just laying around and use it for this. That's one of the reasons why we oppose the bills, because there's no fiscal sanity to what they're doing. That's why we oppose the bill.
Thank you. Any other witnesses?
Madam Chair and members, Sam Paredes representing gun owners of California in strong opposition to the bill, and I'd like to boil it down to this. State law, the statute says that the DROS fund is not supposed to accumulate a surplus. If it does take in more money than it requires to operate the program, it is supposed to lower the fees so that gun owners no longer create this surplus. The burden is not should not be placed on them. That is what the law says. The state of California has been ignoring that law for years and years and years, to the point to where they accumulated an $18 million surplus. They have been ignoring the letter of the law. And now, by adding one small word which this bill will do, to add possession to the categories for which it is okay for the Department of Justice to spend money out of this fund to do legitimate law enforcement activities. Law enforcement activities that should be paid for by all citizens, not just law-abiding gun owners who pay to have a background check done. But by adding that simple word of possession, you now turn this fee, you expand its responsibilities. I think it now becomes a tax, because it is going for more things than it was originally required to do. Some people will argue, no, it's a fee. Well, still under Prop 26, if you expand these fees, or the purposes for these fees, whether you're actually expanding, raising the fee itself, it requires a 2/3 vote for the authorization to do that. And of course, this is being ignored by the sponsors of this bill and those people who want to see the passage of this thing happen. We think that it is shameful that the state has ignored the letter of the law the way it has been written, and now that burden is placed on law-abiding gun owners, gun purchasers, in the fees that they have to pay to support activities that have nothing to do with what that fee was originally intended. We are in strong opposition to the bill.
Madam Chair, Kathy Lynch, representing the California Sportsmen's Lobby, Outdoor Sportsmen's Coalition, Spark Club International, who are sportsmen's groups in strong opposition, as well as the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the California Association of Firearm Retailers, which are manufacturers and the retailers in the state. I noticed the analysis references gun enthusiasts, and I would just like to clarify that this impacts our customers, and they're not gun enthusiasts. They're legitimate businesses in California. I would concur with everything that's been said. And in addition, I think you do need to really take a look at this. Last year, we fought in the budget against the Department of Justice, who wanted to use the DROS account to go to Reno to enforce gun show laws in Reno. It's pretty clear that they interpret this fund as a slush fund that they're able to do with what they want. This money is supposed to be reduced. There should be a cap put on the DROS account, an automatic trigger that should be done in the budget process. It's interesting that when Mr. De Leon was in here presenting on his bill a few hours ago, maybe just an hour ago, and the reference was made to what's going to happen in the courts regarding ammunition registration. Again, they look at the DROS account like they can fund lawsuits against the very people that are paying into it, which they can't do. Mr. Fear's bill that went through this committee on long gun registration anticipates that analysis, and the fiscal committee always demonstrates special fund. We're going to take the money out of the DROS account to fund prospective legislation. This, again, is a violation in the sense that it's supposed to fund existing background checks, not prospective legislation going forward. This is going to head to court. If the state of California, in the passage of AB 109, which was the realignment plan, and shifting everything to the locals, this is now a backfill attempt in the DROS account for the Department of Justice, who lost that money out of the general fund. If they need that funding for their special agents, which we support, by the way, we support them having those agents, then the legislature needs to be honest about it and fund it in the budget process, not off the backs of law-abiding citizens who are just trying to clear a background check. Thank you.
Next witness.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Tom Pedersen representing California Rifle and Pistol Association. I agree with all the comments, and I also appreciate the author's efforts to remove firearms from prohibited persons. I think that's one of the main functions of law enforcement. The problem here is that this is a fee for service, the DROS monies, And so it becomes a tax if it's used for other purposes. One of the things that really needs to be addressed is to raise more money so that they can do their job. And one way they could do that is to take these firearms that are seized and sell them through licensed firearms dealers that are highly regulated in California. And although that's not popular in some circles, the reality of it is the firearm is not contraband. The firearm is a highly regulated item. And to take those monies and to use those monies to be able to fund the programs of DOJ. And for the reasons mentioned, we oppose the bill at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more witnesses? Thank you. DOF.
While this measure would not result in direct fiscal impact, it is our understanding that if this bill is enacted, that the Department of Justice intends to seek additional funding authority from the DROS account to support additional enforcement activities related to the Armed Prohibited Persons Program. The APP is currently supported by approximately $4.9 million from the general fund, and any request for additional expenditure authority would be subject to review and approval through the annual budget process. And we also note that the DROS currently has a funding balance that could support the additional expenditures, and note that that current annual revenues to the DROS account exceed expenditures by approximately $2 million.
Thank you very much. Okay, the item is in suspense. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you for allowing us to testify. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, this concludes our meeting. Is there anyone that roll is open? Anyone needing to vote that did not?
Thank you.